think I was pretty naive and inexperienced. I mean, I was from a small farming community, and I had limited contacts and limited exposure to the world. It's pre-internet, of course, and my parents didn't even subscribe to a newspaper. I mean, probably most of the social exposure I had was in high school, just with all these other. I went to a rural high school as well. That was bused about an hour away from there every morning. So I feel like I was pretty isolated from the outside world. So I was pretty naive to what the expectations might be. And when I was recruited, they asked me if I had ever had sex with another man. So that was right there. And I hadn't, so I answered the question truthfully. I have said before to people talking about this that if they had asked me, do you want to sleep with another man, I might have answered the question differently. But I said no, because I hadn't, and I certainly had ideas about it. I went to somebody to talk about that. I went to somebody on board the ship, like a higher ranking person that I felt I could trust, to talk about the fact that I was attracted to other men. And when I did that, it was met with kind of a sincere understanding in a way, and an interest, a curiosity about if, like, what had I done and how did I know what I knew about myself, that kind of approach. And so really, I think, like, almost a thoughtful, sincere curiosity in that conversation, I think. But then I got up the next morning and I was piped to muster somewhere, and someone came and got me. They said, no, well, this person wants to speak with you and you have to get in dress of the day. So every day on a ship, they have different dresses. I guess you wear different things. So I got in my work dress uniform, because that was what people wore on duty watch. I thought actually they were going to tell me I actually missed a muster for duty watch and I was supposed to be on duty that day. That was what was in my head. I didn't know that it was about this disclosure I had made to this person. And I just woke up. They just woke me up. So I got dressed and I went there was another petty officer there, and they had me sort of stand at attention, and I realized, okay, something's going on here. I didn't really know what it was, and they made this kind of declaration that if I understood what I had told him the day before, and I said yes, and then he said, you can be released from the military for this. And that's when I realized I had made a disclosure which was going to have some consequences. So the cat was out of the bag, so to speak. I was shocked, because I don't know why I was so shocked, but I was just shocked that that it was happening. And I just said, yes, I understand. And they dismissed me, and I went to the cafeteria. And there were some people in there, like, that were on duty that day, and they were talking or doing something. I sat by myself in the corner and just breathed in and out. And I was just thinking in my head, it's over. I really had a sense of hopelessness from that point forward. So, and people saw me falling apart. Like, I gave up, and that led me into a whole range of circumstances with other people, confrontations, being, impaired, not caring what happened to me, so I had a sense of reckless self-endangerment going on, and other people recognized that. People didn't know what was happening with me. I went from this person who was, like, pretty straight and narrow to this complete train wreck. Because my family was told about the circumstance, and asked questions about me, and it was pretty clear that I was homosexual. This became this problem for me leaving there, and I ended up going home, and there was this, silence about, I mean, I had nowhere else to go anyway, and so of course I went home, and there was this silence. My dad said, we don't want to talk about it, kind of thing. And he went to work every day. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and they had their own problems or whatever, but it created huge stress for my family and me, and we're allowed to talk about what had just had this profound experience I had had really in the military was this thing that was was a shame, and it was something not to be talked about. And I mean, that placed a lot of pressure on my mother, who was answering the phone to everybody calling, all my relatives saying, "Oh, why am I home?" And this storyline that's vacant of all the real truth, and they're like lies or whatever. So this caused a huge problem. My mother was attempted suicide and was like in a cornfield with. I lived in this little town, about 300 people out there searching through the cornfield for my mother, who was missing for days and days and days, and we didn't know where she was, but she had driven a car into a cornfield, and it was just tragic. So what I hope people would learn from this is, to be, kind and compassionate, to be, fair to one another. It's just, I think there was parts of my own experience that were extraordinarily unfair. There's a story of resilience and strength there too, because I think that for all the failing that I interpreted as for a very long time, I also see it as me being me in a place where you're not allowed to be that way. And so it was a form of some, being me despite that.